Welcome to Howard University, the Mecca, a sacred, uninterrupted utopia where Black excellence flows from the water fountains and every morning starts with a perfectly choreographed step routine. At least, that's what the brochures and your aunties told you. What they conveniently forgot to mention is that this utopia costs $68,000 a year. Your landlord is actively gentrifying you out of the zip code, and the administration building operates like it's guarding state secrets on a dial-up connection. You're not just chasing the American dream here, you are financing it at a premium. Let's look at the receipt.
You wake up, not to the booming brass of the Showtime marching band, and not inside a perfectly color-graded TikTok of homecoming. You wake up to the rattling radiator of an off-campus apartment in Prince George's County, Maryland, because living near campus stopped being financially viable about 2 gentrification waves ago. When your high school counselors, your parents, and your aunties talked about Howard University, they didn't just describe a school, they described a holy site, the Mecca. They talked about Kamala Harris, Chadwick Boseman, Thurgood Marshall, Toni Morrison. They pitched you a 4-year, uninterrupted utopia of unapologetic Black excellence, a place where you would finally be the rule rather than the exception. A place where greatness is basically in the drinking water. And they weren't lying. That magic is real. But they conveniently left out the morning commute. They left out what it actually feels like to step off the metro into the historic Shaw neighborhood, a neighborhood that used to be the beating heart of Black DC, but is now rapidly being paved over by $2,800 a month luxury studios, upscale doggy daycares, and $7 oat milk lattes. The public expectation of your life is that you have arrived. You are young, gifted, and Black in the most important city in the free world. The immediate grounded reality, however, is that your cost of attendance is currently hovering around $68,000 a year. You are probably staring down the barrel of massive federal student loans, and right now, your primary concern isn't changing the world. It's figuring out if your financial aid is going to clear before the registrar drops you from your Tuesday morning classes. To survive here, you have to master a very specific set of mechanics. These are the unwritten rules of your daily existence, and they dictate exactly how you move through this world. First, there is the social architecture of the yard. You don't just casually walk across the main campus in sweatpants and a messy bun because you overslept. The yard is not merely a geographic location, it is an impromptu runway, a relentless networking event, and a daily performance of aspiration. You are surrounded by the most brilliant, ambitious, impeccably dressed Black people on the planet. The guy sitting next to you in macroeconomics already has seed funding for a tech startup. The girl in your literature class is a legislative intern on Capitol Hill. The pressure to keep up, to look the part, to secure the bag, and to exude flawless confidence is the very oxygen you breathe. It is deeply empowering, but let's be honest, it is exhausting. You are always on. Then, there is the administrative gauntlet. If you know, you know. The infamous A building. The administration building. Your Tuesday isn't just about going to class, it's about standing in a stagnant line for 2 hours to fix an arbitrary hold on your account because a form you submitted 3 separate times somehow evaporated into the digital ether. At Howard, there is a phenomenon affectionately referred to as the Howard Hustle. It's framed as a character-building exercise, a badge of honor that proves you have grit. In reality, it's a polite way of saying that you have to become your own lawyer, accountant, and fierce self-advocate because if you don't aggressively manage your own existence, the bureaucracy will swallow you whole. Hovering over all of this is the ruthless financial calculus of your surroundings. You are literally studying systemic inequality and gentrification in your sociology lectures while living it in real time. The university sits in a city that is rapidly pricing out the very people who built its cultural capital. Since you couldn't secure a spot in the notoriously competitive upperclassmen housing lottery, you're forced into the local rental market. But average rent around Howard is astronomical, over $2,000 a month for a 1-bedroom. So, you adapt. You juggle a part-time job, an unpaid prestige internship just to keep your resume competitive, a full course load, and the mental weight of knowing your family is sacrificing heavily to keep you at the Mecca. You learn to stretch a Metro card and a meal plan to their absolute limits. The unwritten rule of this life is that you are participating in a daily miracle of survival. You are expected to produce Ivy League results, look like $1 million while doing it, and somehow ignore the looming shadow of the $58,000 average debt you will likely carry across the graduation stage. It is 1:30 a.m. on a Wednesday. You are sitting under the aggressive fluorescent lights of the undergraduate library, affectionately known as the UGLI. You have a midterm in 6 hours, a shift at your campus job in 10 hours, and your bank account is currently staging a quiet rebellion. This is where the initial friction of your daily routine calcifies into a heavy, cumulative toll. The exhaustion you feel isn't just physical, it is deeply structural. At Howard, you are existing at the intersection of immense historical pride and stark modern capitalism. The reality of the black tax isn't an abstract concept you read about in your political science seminar. It is a mathematical reality sitting on your shoulders. You know the statistics, even if you try not to think about them. Black college graduates typically hold $25,000 more in student loan debt than their white peers within 4 years of graduating. Over 80% of HBCU students rely on federal loans. You are quite literally financing your own upward mobility at a premium, borrowing against a future that feels both incredibly promising and terrifyingly precarious. This financial anxiety breeds a very specific kind of isolation. It's the quiet shame of having to decline a group dinner at a trendy restaurant on U Street because you need that $20 to make it to Friday. It's watching a subset of your peers, the ones whose parents are doctors from Atlanta or judges from Maryland, the ones who represent the established black upper middle class, navigate this environment with a breezy, unburdened grace that you simply cannot afford. You are all black, yes, but the class divides within. The Mecca are sharp and unforgiving. Sometimes the pressure to maintain the illusion of seamless success forces you to suffer in silence, trapped behind a carefully curated Instagram feed that only shows the highlights. And then there is the emotional toll of the expectation itself. You are not just here for you. You are the return on investment for your parents, your grandparents, and the ancestors who were legally barred from reading. The pressure to not just graduate, but to graduate as a titan of industry, a visionary artist, or a revolutionary leader is a crushing weight. You cannot just be average. The system, the culture, and your own family require you to be exceptional just to break even in America. Over time, this relentless grind begins to feel like a treadmill you can't step off. You're running yourself ragged, burning out your central nervous system before you've even turned 21, meticulously optimizing every hour of your day just to survive an environment that was supposedly built for you to thrive. You hit a breaking point where you look at the student loan portal, look at the crumbling infrastructure of your off-campus apartment, look at the sheer exhaustion in the eyes of your friends, and you ask yourself a very dangerous question. Is this actually worth it? If the cost of attendance is astronomical, if the bureaucracy regularly tests your sanity, and if the gentrifying city is actively pushing you out, why do you stay? Why not just transfer to a heavily subsidized in-state public university back home? Why subject yourself to the financial and emotional meat grinder of this specific American experience? This is the core paradox of your life. You stay because you know the terrifying truth about the alternative. If you leave and go to a predominantly white institution, a PWI, you will trade one set of burdens for another. You might save tuition money, but you will pay an invisible daily psychological tax. You will become the designated spokesperson for all black people in your sociology class. You will have to constantly code switch, shrinking your personality, moderating your tone, and adjusting your hair to make the majority comfortable. You will be perceived as a diversity statistic before you are perceived as a scholar. At Howard, despite the chaos, the debt, and the stress, you are paying for the ultimate, rarest luxury in American life. The luxury of just being normal. The luxury of blending in. You stay because for 4 years, you are not a minority. You are the baseline. That psychological safety, the freedom to be mediocre, to be brilliant, to be alternative, to be loud, to be complex, without it reflecting on your entire race, is intoxicating. It is a profound, life-altering relief, and you are willing to mortgage your financial future to possess it. Furthermore, you stay because you understand how American power actually works. You realize that meritocracy is largely a myth, and that access is the true currency of the realm. You aren't just buying a degree, you are buying into a bloodline. The Howard Network is legendary. a fiercely protective mafia of alumni who occupy the highest tiers of corporate America, Hollywood, and Capitol Hill. You stay because you know that in 5 years, when your resume is sitting in a stack of 200 applications at a major firm, an alumnus will see Howard University, pull your name to the top and say, "Bring them in." The paradox is that you are trapped in a system that requires you to go into massive debt to access the very tools required to escape generational poverty. You are sitting adjacent to unimaginable power, studying blocks away from the White House, rubbing shoulders with the children of political elites, yet you are individually broke. You are navigating the ultimate American contradiction, purchasing the keys to the kingdom from a system that historically tried to lock you out, knowing full well that the debt you accumulate might keep you running on the treadmill forever. You stay because you believe that if anyone can beat those odds, it's you. To truly understand why your Tuesday is so exhausting, we have to zoom out. We have to look past the administration building and the off-campus rent hikes and look at the skyline of Washington, D.C. itself. This city is a machine that runs on optics, policy, and power. And America in the 21st century has a very specific, deeply ingrained problem. It desperately wants the aesthetic, cultural, and economic benefits of a diverse elite class, but it is structurally allergic to paying for it. Enter Howard University. This is the hidden engine of the American paradox. Corporate America, the federal government, the healthcare system, and the global media apparatus need you. They require brilliant, highly educated, fiercely capable Black professionals to legitimize their institutions, to prevent corporate groupthink, to navigate shifting demographics, and to prove to the rest of the world that the American dream is still a functional, breathing concept. But here is the hidden economic logic operating beneath your daily grind. The American system outsources the immense cost of producing you to you. Think about the math of higher education. A top-tier Ivy League university often sits on an endowment the size of a small nation's GDP, sometimes upwards of $40 or $50 billion. That staggering wealth allows them to offer sweeping, no-loan financial aid packages to middle-class and lower-income students. Howard's endowment, while historically the largest among historically Black colleges and universities, is usually hovering just under the $1 billion mark. That is a monumental achievement, but in the realm of elite American higher education, it means the institution is constantly forced to fight in a completely different financial weight class. Why does this gap exist? Because wealth in America compounds over centuries. For the vast majority of American history, the ancestors of Howard alumni were legally barred from accumulating capital, let alone donating it to a university endowment. You are playing catch-up in a multi-generational monopoly game that started 400 years before you were even born. The American machine relies on HBCUs to do the heavy lifting of social mobility. Despite being historically underfunded, institutions like Howard consistently produce an outsized, massive percentage of the nation's Black doctors, engineers, judges, and executives. It is an incredibly efficient engine for generating the Black upper middle class. But because of the sheer mathematical reality of the racial wealth gap, the primary fuel for this engine is federal student debt. You are a perfectly functioning gear in this larger machine. You accept the financial risk because the societal reward, the unparalleled network, the prestige, and the vital psychological safety of the Mecca is the only reliable shield you have against a professional world still riddled with bias. The system knows this. It knows you have no choice but to bet on yourself. And so, the machine hums along seamlessly. You borrow federal money, you give it to the institution to keep the lights on, the institution polishes you into an elite professional, and you spend the next 2 decades paying the government back with interest. All the while, you serve as the highly competent, heavily recruited face of a Fortune 500 company that will happily leverage your cultural capital while posting a Martin Luther King Jr. quote on LinkedIn every February. It's a beautifully brutal piece of economic architecture. You aren't failing the system. The system is working exactly as designed. So, you pack up your laptop, you leave the undergraduate library. It's now 3 a.m. on a Wednesday. As you walk past the yard, quiet now in the damp DC air, you think about that midterm tomorrow. You think about the direct deposit from your campus job that hopefully clears by Friday. You think about the overwhelming expectations of everyone back home. It is a deeply contradictory life. You are steeped in profound, everyday Black joy. surrounded by generational brilliance and standing on the shoulders of historical giants. At the exact same time, you are navigating an exhausting bureaucratic maze, financing your own upward mobility at a steep premium, and fighting just to keep your head above water in a rapidly gentrifying zip code. You are buying the American dream at retail price in a market that relies on your eventual success but refuses to subsidize your journey. But as you unlock the door to your overpriced, rattling apartment, you know one thing for certain. When you finally cross that stage, you won't just know how to survive the machine, you'll know exactly how it was built. Your existence is basically a premium subscription fee for the privilege of fighting systemic barriers. But hey, at least your alumni network is more powerful than the Illuminati. Subscribe to AmeriPOV for more deep dives into the spectacular contradictions of American life. We promise our content is debt-free,